Okay, folks, welcome to this morning's Saturday morning show, the Fife Property Show. This morning we're going to be talking about getting sold this spring. If you've got a challenge of getting sold this spring, this is probably the show for you. If you're thinking about going on the market right now, this is probably the show for you right now as well. If you're thinking about buying, this is probably the show for you right now, because you will probably more than likely be a seller as well if you're thinking about buying. If you're stuck on the market right now, this is probably the show for you as well. Okay, daffodils, bluebells, tulips are all out in force. I was there this morning. They're all out. They're coming out. Buds are on the trees and everything. The bare branches are filling with the leaves and the blossoms. It must be spring. Isn't it, Richard? It must be spring. It's here.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed when I was walking the dog as well, you get that feeling it's that time of year. So, I mean, it's that time where everybody feels like it's a fresh start. So now is when buyers come out of hibernation, and they come out in their droves. But so do many sellers as well. So spring is reliably a busy time of year with homes coming up for sale.
Yeah, it's when you said buyers come out of hibernation. Right, I think I'm going to buy a house now. I had another vision like Escape from New York, where a Snake Plissken, you know, if you ever remember that film, where people come up from the drains.
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah,
buyers come up right from hibernation. Right, is it time to buy a house now? It's springtime now. We can go buy a house. Hey, you can buy a house at any time of year, and often winter is the best time to sell, and possibly the best time to buy as well. But spring. When I get asked this every single time, Richard, when is the best time to sell? The answer to that is always now. Now, because more than likely you're selling because your circumstances have changed. So now is always the answer, regardless and irrespective. And it's purely down to the fact that, you know, oh well, will house prices increase in the next 6 months? It's like, it makes no difference. If house prices increase in the next 6 months and you wait for house prices to increase, the house that you're going to buy is going to increase as well at the same time. So it's all proportionately the same. It's apples and apples and oranges if you go back to primary school teaching. You know, so the answer is always now. And when's the best time to buy? Well, guess what? The answer is always now, because you're probably thinking about buying because your circumstances dictate it. But the key here is, when you're selling, how do you stand out from the crowd? Make the top buyers lists and shortlists and sell for the highest price before the selling season ends, because it will end at some point in time. There is a lull. It goes on halfway in between, and then we go into spring and there's another lull, and we go into summer and we go into another lull, and then we go into autumn, then we go into another lull. There's key dates, and this is why it's important to actually speak to an estate agent before you actually start that journey. So you get somebody out earlier rather than later and last minute, because it allows you to plan. Imagine getting an estate agent out at last minute and then they go, I think you should really change your kitchen. It'll make a significant difference in that £20,000 rent the value. Oh my God, I've got to find a kitchen fitter now, or I'm going to lose £20,000. See, you know, people don't understand that, do they, Richard?
That's when I always think it's never too early to start planning. If you think I'm going to be selling in the future, it's never too early to speak to your estate agent, because things like that could come up. You know, even if it's a year down the line, you're thinking of selling, speak to them and say, look, I'm going to be selling next year, or, you know, and they will guide you through, right, okay, this is what you need to do to have everything in place so you can hit the ground running with your sale.
Well, I've got to say, nothing really stops a scroll beating, you know, nothing really beats a scroll stopping listing and heart stopping viewings. And you can create that winning combination in a single weekend with our tips on the subjects we're going to talk about. Let's just summarize these subjects. Having a thorough spring clean. You would think that's pretty straightforward and pretty common sense, but the problem with common sense, it's not that common. Embracing the power of flowers. You know, not my forte, flowers and all the rest of it, but, you know, even my wife will testify to that. It's not really my forte. Maybe I should make it my forte. Amplifying your home's natural brightness. That's a key one here as well. A lot of people actually just close off their home because of winter, obviously, and it's been a bit chillier, and we're into these habits that we still have from that winter period. Blending the current trends and classic spring styles. And finally, giving your garden and a balcony a boost. I've got somebody just doing that in Crail just now. Just before they put the house on the market, there's like, I'm just going to give the decking a quick clean over. If I've got a chance and the rain holds off, it's merciless now. If the rain holds off, I might be able to paint it. And I says, well, don't worry about it. Maybe just take a pressure wash over it. But it's not the end of the world. Nobody's going to not buy your house because the decking's a bit dirty. And it's not going to affect your valuation either.
No. But as long as if you've got an outside space, and it's interesting you said even if it's a balcony, even if it's just like a small portion of a courtyard or something, make it obviously stand out in your listing, because any outside space is a bonus.
I mean, with surprisingly little time and cost and effort, you can hit the market an almighty splash that nobody can ignore or even resist. And this week's show is all about this, and it has to be all you need to get sold this spring. So, the first thing I would probably talk about is, we've been in the winter period, everything's been closed off and everything like that. What's your thoughts on, the typical example of, let's just call it blowing off the cobwebs, Richard?
Yeah, blow away the cobwebs, and literally, and metaphorically, because spring is a time when you really need to do that. That Carlsberg cleans to reach all the parts that regular cleaning really doesn't reach. So look at the areas that are really easily missed, and it makes all the difference.
Dust I know my adverts, and I've got a funny feeling that's Heineken. Reaches all the parts that other beers can't reach.
I was thinking about that.
Carlsberg is the Carlsberg's the one that's like, what is it? If Carlsberg did estate agents,
yes,
you know who they would be.
But that's amazing marketing. No sidetrack, but that's amazing marketing, the Carlsberg thing, because everybody knows it.
But you see how that sticks over the years. Yeah. And the client, the one harp get sharp to the bottom of the glass.
Yeah.
These are all things that stick in everybody's mind, and becoming a disruptor is probably the most important thing. So you really should be looking for an estate agent as a disruptor. It can actually occupy people's mind space. This mind has only got a certain amount of information it can hold. So when you're scrolling through, when they're scrolling through here, 3 hours a day, because that's on average how many people are on, on their phones, about 3 hours a day on average. When they're scrolling through here and they're looking for stuff, you've got 3/10. It used to be 3 seconds to stop somebody in their tracks, but it's literally 3/10 of a second to stop somebody in their tracks now. So you've got to have something that's going to disrupt them when they're scrolling through and just catch their attention straight away and go, oh, I want to listen to that. Now, there's a hint. I want to listen to that. I want to watch that. Video is key here. Silent movies is a thing of the past. It's all about talking pictures now. That's the key here. Silent movies are just as good as the photographs with a bit of music on it, kind of like green sleeves that you hear on the phone all the time. That's what silent movies that a lot of estate agents actually use now. Some are actually getting rid of them completely and going back to the old traditional, photographs and descriptions. But let me explain to you what that is, what the traditional model of estate agency is. Imagine your favorite television show. Mine is The Apprentice. I love it. It's really funny. It's really engaging, and I like it. Now, there's millions of people that watch The Apprentice because they like watching The Apprentice. They like listening to The Apprentice. They like engaging with what The Apprentice is saying. But could you imagine if then I said to everybody, all these millions of people, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'll just give you the photographs of the cast and Alan Sugar and, the rest of them and Tim. And I'll give you the photographs of the cast and I'll give you the script to read. But that's all you're getting now. If you want to engage with anything to do with The Apprentice, you're not getting to watch it anymore. You're just getting the photographs of the cast and you're getting the script. How many people do you think are likely to watch it now or even engage with it at all? Less, a lot less than the millions that watch it right now. But the key here is that is how traditional estate agency is done today. Photographs and descriptions, when you could have talking pictures, which makes a fundamental difference to your audience. Why would you want a few hundred views on social media and online and stuff like that for your property if you could get thousands with video content?
It's interesting.
That's what you're after.
It's interesting how you say, how you pointed out there, like there's some agents that have started to implement like the silent video, the silent video walkthrough thing, but then they've even dropped that. So it's like they started on that journey towards video, and obviously, but then just given up and then just reverted back rather than take it to the next level. And I have seen that
because the cost investment return isn't there. The investment return on the cost isn't there at all. The silent movie would maybe cost a couple of £100 to do, or it's maybe somebody on the phone possibly and put music to it, but they've still got to send it to an editor, or they've still got to do it themselves. So, but the cost return, the investment return isn't there at all. Whereas the investment return on talking pictures, which is what we're doing and walking through and actually talking up and telling them about the area and pushing all the right buttons for people further afield, so they understand what they're engaging with, so they understand the area itself and why they would want to live there. This is what this is all about. You don't buy a house because it's got 4 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms and 3 receptions. You buy a house because of why and what it'll give you. That's it. You buy a house of what it'll give you, not what it has. It's the features and benefits thing. It's exactly every single time. So when people further afield don't understand, when you try to communicate to somebody in Edinburgh and London and Glasgow or down south or even up in the Highlands and Islands about what you've got here, it would appeal to them. You have to make sure you push all the right buttons, and you have to tell them why they want to live here. Not let them work it out. 0.3 of a second, you've got to tell them and catch their attention straight away. That's why video content is so important.
Yeah, it's not just down to the, because somebody might think, oh, I need 3 bedrooms and a driveway and a garden. But then it's all about where it's located and what's in that location that could benefit you. Do you know, its proximity to maybe, obviously, work or commuting links and things like that. So there's lots of factors involved in
proximity to the Fife coastal path. Where have we had that before? And the beach and the harbour and the cafes, bistros and restaurants.
But there's a lot involved in making your listing, like you say, stop people in their track scrolling, and obviously blowing away the cobwebs like we were talking about there is one thing. And when you look around the property, when you do your normal cleaning and things, you don't do the full belts and braces clean or the Carlsberg clean, but dust really does make things dull, and it also attracts more dust, do you know, and there's areas where you probably won't get that all the time. So target less visible areas in your house when you're doing that clean. Think about shelves, think about underneath furniture, along carpet edges, behind doors, where dark lines can form. And I think the good tip here is never forget to look up. Do you know, always remember look up, and these are where the cobwebs can appear and seemingly from nowhere. Do you know, on ceilings and light fittings.
That's the first thing I do. First thing
and
I do when I walk around the property.
Will look up.
I immediately go around the property and I'll look up all the time, and I'll look down in the corners, because the one thing I'm looking up the top is for damp. The other one thing I'm looking down the bottom is for damp. You know, to see if there's condensation patches or there's damp patches or there's damp up in the corners, or there's evidence of actually erosion with the, you know, things like the cornice and the coving, because then that tells that's a telltale sign that there's been problematic issues before. And the ceiling as well. Sometimes normal settlement, you get the cracks from the lath and plaster. It used to be there, you know, it's probably still there from, you know, 10s, maybe even 50, 60 years ago, and it's still robust and holding up, and that's just normal settlement, that's fine. But there is real good telltale signs, and it's like what you say, even above the doors and stuff like that, it just makes a fundamental difference, especially because remember, not everybody thinks like you and I, and you know, you've got to think, how are they? I mean, some of them might be like the house doctor and get their white glove out and just run it over the top.
I've seen
when you're out of the room. So if they get that impression, it's just another negative impression that they get. So it's kind of the old thing about, you know, if that's like that, what else is like that? I can't see. It's the old analogy about, you know, we used to get told as a rule of thumb, if you go to see a car and you find one fault, there's usually 2 faults that you don't know about on that car when you're looking to buy it. So, you know, look up next time the cobwebs, and you can appear seemingly nowhere in the corners, as you said, and the cooker hoods, you know, the cooker hoods, because I'm guilty, by the way. Years ago, it's like you would get you would be cooking on the stove and the cooker hood, and you'd forget to clean the filter, and the filter just stinks. But you get nose blind. Yeah, there's another great advertising, isn't it? Nose blind.
It's Febreze. That's
yeah, Febreze. Nose blind. See how all these things stick in people's minds.
Yeah.
You know, summer freshness, Lenore.
Yeah.
You know, that is the fundamental difference between somebody that just advertises and somebody it markets. Marketing sticks with someone forever. It gets in their mindset, it occupies their mind space, and it disrupts them. And that's what you want. You want somebody that's a fantastic digital marketer, but backed up by negotiation. So yeah, bathrooms and stuff like that. What else do we need to think about? You know, what
also,
sort of
I think look at storage areas and things that buyers will look in. Do you know, there's always that cupboard that like, oh, don't look in there. It's, do you know, it's full to the brim. Kitchen cupboards, medicine cabinets, built-in wardrobes sometimes are stacked up with full, and it's not a good look because people will open them and look in. So they should be cleaned and ordered and unstuffed with stuff that's all, do you know what I mean? Everybody's got that cupboard, I think. I know I do.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
I've got a double garage like that.
Yeah, a lot of people use their garages as storage instead of actually keeping cars and things in it.
The garage, I think, is the precursor for actually getting it finally into a skip. It's like, oh, I just didn't. And you never know. I might need that washing machine.
That's not quite prepared to part with it yet.
I might need that washing machine that's broken. The clue is it's broken. It's not working. But I might need some of the parts. It's like, have you bought the same washing machine then? No. Well, why would you need it then? And it's because, you know, it's a classic example because everything else is really good on it, but it just doesn't work anymore because it seems such a shame to throw it out. But the reality is, you should just throw it out. There's a lot of people actually online in the community pages that come along and just collect them, and recycle them for scrap. So that's maybe another opportunity to do that. So, you know, definitely. But I mean, on that note, Richard, the one that you talked about, preparing to sell is also a perfect time for decluttering in the season. So actually take a look at our 4 ways to declutter.
We've done a whole show
on this post, and the podcast is on here as well. So, you know, take an opportunity to do that. Say it with flowers, not my forte.
I was just going to say flowers are your thing, Jim. So yeah, and flowers really falls into the garden, and as nature really bursts into life at this time of year, you could create a really invigorating viewing experience by channeling spring's energy and the beauty and the aromas and things that all come into your house with blooms of this season, which is spring. So
I've got to say though, the daffodils are nice, and the first sign of spring is coming when you get the snowdrops. Snowdrops are usually the first evidence that something's going to happen. Yeah, you know, they usually come round about February or thereabouts, give you a real good sign about something's happening. And then you start to see the buds, and you start to see the temperature increasing and the buds on the trees, and then the daffodils are out already. And then there's another telltale sign. There's another telltale sign, which is I saw the drakes are out in full swing. It's like it's that season again. It's springtime.
Yeah, I was at the Glen last night, and I noticed a few of them, but the pond's drained, but they are still there.
I was kind of thinking, now you guys need to find a girl. It's like there's about 5 of them together, and it's like not one in sight. It's like you maybe need to go somewhere else. Okay. So flowers, you know, can you give an idea about what we should be doing with that then?
Yeah. So single cut stems look wonderful in maybe little vases, and do you know, on bedside cabinets, on your living room side tables, fireplaces, do you know, and have nice spring bunches of flowers on fireplaces, as well as maybe even in bathrooms and WCs or cloakrooms and things, just to brighten it up and give it that nice, It
is nice. It's nice, isn't it, when you walk into a room, and it just makes a fundamental difference. It is amazing. You know, now and again we'll get flowers, and they'll appear on the dining table in the kitchen. And you've got to admit, when you walk in, it does brighten up the room straight away. And then when you look at the cost of them, I'm not really sure what the cost is now. I would guess £5 for a bunch of flowers at the local supermarket or something like that. There are alternatives, obviously, but £5 just to have. And when you think about it, it's a small investment to make a fundamental difference in somebody's mind. It gives them that wee lift. You know, when you walk in the door, does that work for you as well? You get that wee lift when you see that.
Do you know what, as well, even if you've got wildflowers or flowers in your garden, to pick some and put them in just a clear vase, or even I've seen people put them in the washout jars and have them on their kitchen windowsill and things. It's nice.
Yeah, definitely. What other things do we need to think about then?
Well, as you said, Jim, there's nothing better than a vase filled with flowers, and it makes a really great room centerpiece, particularly, like you said, dining tables, sideboards, on a hall console table, or if you've got deep shelves and things. And if you look in and we talk in the decluttering blog about shelves and things as well, clear your shelves and have a nice bunch of flowers on there in a clear vase. That really emphasizes,
especially if the room's very clinical. You know, like the Battleship Grey, or I call it Battleship Grey, but it's grey, or a magnolia or something like that, and white magnolia and white skirtings and facings and white ceiling, or you have grey and white skirtings and facings and ceiling. It can look pretty clinical, but just to have that burst, and for some reason I keep thinking of daffodils. Daffodils every single time, isn't it? Daffodils and tulips, preferably from Amsterdam. There's a song there somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm on one the day. What else do we need to think about then?
And then think about your entrance. Pots and hanging baskets at the front door. That all falls in with your entrance and curb appeal, and offers a really warm and colourful invitation for buyers to step inside to your property.
Oh, Jeanette's is a good one. Actually, green apples in a bowl in the kitchen, but polish them with a cloth so they shine.
That's a really good one. I actually think fruit bowls, a full fruit bowl, or even like you say, just green apples. That's a really good one, actually.
Yeah, and you have the bananas that aren't ripe, clearly, because obviously they've got black spot then. But you have the bananas which are nice and yellow as well. So you've got the yellows, you've got the greens, sometimes you've got the deep reds as well, the polish from that. So you've got all these different bursts of colour which are actually beneficial, just as nice as a bouquet of flowers, or complementary.
Yeah, definitely. And I think finally, not that I'm an avid gardener as such, but people who are obviously looking to go in the market just now and intending to, obviously, if their listing's going to be there for the summer, a quick tip is now is the time to maybe plant bulbs and things, for the summer bulbs to be planted now, and then they're blooming in your garden for the photos and people coming around for viewings and things. So think ahead of that. Yeah.
Good point. Never thought of that. And you've often got them in from the years before, because all they do, they literally just hibernate and come back up when it gets warm. That's how you know straight away when the temperature's changing and the sun is rising. There's another song there somewhere, the temperature's changing. It's the Weather Girls. That's like, what's going on today? Oh dear. So the temperature's changing, the sun is rising. Definitely. You just know, don't you? And I think for everybody roundabout, it just gives that. Again, we're back to this overall lift, and the brighter mornings and the brighter nights, and your viewings now, instead of winter going from week to week, usually weekend to weekend, because it's dark at nights and they're not home from their work yet and stuff like that. So it's usually weekend to weekend in a winter period. And that's the only reason it goes slower, because it's weekend to weekend in the viewings. But it goes faster in the spring and the summer, and clearly because people can view day to day now, because they can do a viewing 6 and 7 o'clock at night, and they'll still see everything. The sun will still be shining.
Yeah, and it's something, the evening viewings in the spring and summer are quite nice, because it's that. And if you're channeling the season with flowers and things as well, you really set that scene.
Definitely. So the sun is higher in the sky, okay, and days are getting longer, as I've said. More buyers will see your home looks and feels like in the daylight as well. The blooming garden for your photographs. So here's how to maintain the magic of spring indoors. And I can't help thinking about the one we've just put on at John Street. It's like when I was watching the drone footage and the video and the walkthrough and walking out the front door to the sea. It's like I just want to buy it. It's like I just want to move straight away. It's like, my goodness, And I could just imagine myself just popping out into the sea on the paddleboard or doing a bit of open water swimming or in the kayak. And I think then that tells me I've hit the mark in terms of what I've done marketing wise, because if it's doing it for me, and yet I've seen it several times, it must be doing it for everybody else. Definitely.
And you really buy into that in the walkthrough. Do you know, you get that feeling. It's and that's the power of obviously the video.
But then when you get inside, when you actually physically get inside to do the viewing, it's a different story for people. Sometimes it can be. There's no question that the cheapest, quickest, and easiest way to boost natural brightness is really, believe it or not, clean your windows. You'd be amazed at how many people just don't do that.
I done mine last Sunday. They were terrible. I took the opportunity while the weather was good.
But more importantly, the interiors as well. A lot of people just don't realise how much difference it makes. I mean, if you've got pets, you've got all the scratch marks, you know, at the door and stuff like that. If you've got cats and dogs and all the rest of it, you'll see all that. If you've got kids as well, you know, they'll be touching everything all round about and everything will be dirty over that period of time. And you kind of, it's like the nose blind thing, you kind of just get used to it. You don't realise.
Complacency, yeah.
It's only, and I was out at somebody yesterday about this actually, in London Links, and we were looking, and you know, the person had just moved out. It was a tenant in the property for a lot of years. They just moved out. But I tell you what, when you walked in, it looked really nice. It looked nice and welcome and open. But then when you looked closer at the wallpaper, you saw the marks. And honestly, we had a discussion. It's a huge hall and it's huge height as well. So that's going to take a long time. And I says, so how long is it going to take? Well, I'm going to have to do it, the owner said. And it's like, really? Says, but we're selling our place somewhere else, you know, across the other side of Fife. So, you know, we're going to have to do that one as well. And says, so when do you think this is going to go in the market then, if you're going to have to do it? And she went, well, I'm not really sure. And I said, well, now's the time to sell. This is where they'll get the best opportunity. This is where you've got the best light. You've got the best, you know, the best audience at this point in time. There's never a better time. And I said, you know, the one thing I notice, I says, what will happen is if you do any of this wall at all, because it's been like that for, you know, a couple of years, maybe a bit more, it will highlight every other wall that's needing done. And then what will happen out of that, it will highlight the skirtings and facings that are needing done. And then when you do the skirtings and facings, it will highlight the doors needing done. And then when you've done the door, it will highlight the doors needing done on the other side in another room. And then when you do the door on the other side in another room, it will highlight the other side of the rooms needing done, and the wallpaper and the skirtings and the facings. I said, you will be here forever to try and get this right. And yet the kitchen's really nice. The bathrooms are really nice. The shower room's really nice. The size of the rooms are beautiful. The cornicing's beautiful. The period of the property in the back garden and the views over the rooftops towards the Firth of Forth over to Edinburgh and Leith are amazing. And yet you're going to hold up your sale because you think it, and somebody's just going to come in and paint over it.
Yeah.
I says, now watch. And I took her around with the camera and showed her what it would look like in the camera, and you couldn't even see that at all.
That didn't pick up those small things, yeah.
You don't see that at all. I says, you are ready to go. Definitely. She says, I never really realised that. I was going to take ages, and I was dreading having to do this. So that's a key position. That's all about getting your estate agent out and actually talking to them and then talking you through the practicalities of, you know, the time differential about, it's the whole thing about, do I wait to get it right, or is done better than perfect?
Yeah.
And most of the times done's better than perfect. But you need a qualified estate agent to do that. And I mean, really a qualified estate agent, somebody that's been experienced at estate agency for, you know, 20 years or something like that. That's who you need through your door. You don't need somebody that just started and it's your best pal and it started 3 weeks ago or months ago or last year or 2 years ago. And that's great. And, you know, that might appeal to you because it's using your friend, and I understand allegiance to that process and that person. But that could cost you thousands at the end result.
I was just going to say it could cost you though.
Yeah. So this is why we come back to talking about, you know, make sure the rooms are all bright as well. And this is the walkthrough and everything that we do. Clean your windows, the interiors as well, and allow the light to flood in Position your mirrors, and well, when you've done your windows, make sure you start getting all that stuff off the windows away back. Your curtains the curtains that you think really nice with the drapes that go in the middle, they join them in the middle and you have it going out to the side. You're losing about a third of your light coming in as a result of that, maybe even more. So get your curtains right back. The light is more important coming into the room, because if somebody walks into the room with the naked eye and it looks dim, that sets the impression straight away. That sets the tone for them in their mind.
Yeah.
Bright is far better. Hence the reason why we say every single time when you're doing a viewing, regardless if it's bright in your room right now, just put the lights on anyway. Because you'd be surprised if the sun disappears behind the clouds, that room goes instantly dark if you've got the sun coming into that window. So you need to make sure you've got a light to compensate for that when that happens, or somebody will twig. It's like, oh, wait a minute, this isn't going to be bright all the time. And it sets that tone again. So that it gives people doubt, and you don't want to give people doubt when you're taking them around on that viewing. Position the mirrors are a really good one as well, to reflect the outside. So if you've got a mirror and you've got a window and the light's going to hit at a certain time, then position that mirror. Now, I didn't mean put it in the middle of the room. So people are going to trip over and think, this is odd. What's the mirror doing in the middle of the room? It's like,
it's true what you say, though. If you come into the room, if you try and position a mirror so that when you look in the mirror, it maybe takes your eye out the window, or reflects the light, and then likewise reflects the light back in. There is a certain way to put a mirror that can really be the optimum space for it to sit in the room.
Even somebody could actually catch a glimpse of the sky in the mirror. Or I tell you what I really love is the mirror wardrobes. I mean, some people think, oh, antiquated and all the rest of it, but the mirror wardrobes, make sure you clean them all. But I tell you what, it makes the room look a lot bigger. And mirrors in your bathroom, there's another song as well, The Beat. The mirror in the bathroom. I tell you, I'm on one today. It must be just popping into mind. Mirrors in your bathroom are actually quite key there as well, especially if your bathroom's quite compact, and it just opens it up a bit in terms of the size and people's minds, because they see the other side of that. Even sort of a mirror at your bath, above your bath or something like that, a big long mirror. Obviously a safety mirror you need to have in order to have that there, because you could fall in it, but that's another story. So you have to make sure you have things like that as well. But reflecting outside, the greenery to the internal walls, the light from the sun, and amplifying these light levels will make a fundamental difference. This is where it comes back to saying, and you talked about this in the beginning about dust, Richard.
Yeah.
Dust attracts dust. Try not to build up static on anything. So when you're dusting, don't spray the surface and then put the cloth on it. Spray the cloth and then put it on the surface. And then you generally don't build up any static, which doesn't attract any more dust to what you're doing. So that's a wee top tip for cleaning when you're doing that. So clean any excesses, like if you've got a glossy magazine, Country Life or something like that, lying on because it sets the right tone lying on the dining table. Then just give it a quick clean. Just to make sure it just doesn't look dirty. It's no great. It doesn't set the right image again. So if you've got any things like, as well as glass, as I said before, as well as metal, ceramics, so they shine with a sparkling reflection of your rooms fundamentally. Natural light, I think, is the top of almost every buyer's list.
Yeah.
See that again. Natural light is the top of every buyer's list. That's why you want to brighten every room. And so it's really pays to emphasize your home's inherent brightness and give it some extra help in the dark corners. That's where the mirrors come in handy, to dazzle everyone when it comes to view your property.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Jim. I think that there's a lot of things. There's a few key things that people do look for, and it's things like storage and parking and all the rest of it. But see natural light. And it's like you say, if your room's dull or can become dull, with curtains drawn and things like that, it could be a really detrimental thing to the sale of your property if viewers pick up on that when they're walking around. And
Jeanette says there, just a quick one. Jeanette says, I only use a lot of different textures of green plants to give the feeling of calm. It's good. That's a good top tip. Also, It gives a feeling of relaxation because it's green, organic, green, freshness, green. It's all associated with that. Healthy, green.
Yeah.
It's all associated with that colour, isn't it? And then she goes on about when you look from your window, buy plants that are in colour and plant them in.
Like in your eye line, when you look at the window.
Good top tip there, Jeanette. Thanks very much for that.
The green plants and the foliage thing, it's quite an up to date on trend thing to have green foliage, and a lot of people now, obviously maybe a lot of people don't have time to actually look after a plant. A lot of people have got artificial, but they do the same job indoors as well.
Yeah,
it's just introducing that green and like you say, that feeling. And then that kind of brings us to really serving a slice of spring and the style of your property. Spring is a season of positivity, like as I said, fresh starts. Spring's palette of sights and smells can be used to really infuse your home with the spirit of freshness that really abounds at this time of year, like we've just discussed. So Spring's 2024 interior trends really take inspiration from maybe like blooming meadows, and whether you're accessorizing or decorating, there's tips that you could capture the essence of the season. And in this instance, we're talking.
You could see that every single time where somebody's just running across the field and their hands are just draping behind them on the typical advert that you see, and the sun is shining in the background.
I had visions of Julie Andrews there, but
yeah, well, Julie Andrews, Flake. These sort of adverts, you just see them, it's just like, wow. And you kind of think it's the feeling it gives you. Again, we're coming back to, because when you look at these adverts, let's see, success leaves clues here.
Yeah.
So when you look at successful adverts like that, you kind of think to yourself, what is it? What does it do? And you can see the key out of that. What it does is it drives a feeling. It drives that feeling and makes you feel good. As a result, you associate that with the brand, the feeling of goodness, of greatness, of freshness, of spring, of all these exciting emotions burst out with that brand when you think about it. That is priceless. And if you can get that across in a video or in your photographs or in your description, photographs and descriptions a bit more difficult to do that, then you're quite in straight away. You're almost there. You're almost there if you can get that across. And you're exactly right, Richard. It's the spring's palettes that you've got to take advantage of, the sights and the smells and the sounds and everything that goes with it. The birds chirping. Often when I go round to a video, I hear the birds chirping in the background. I think, Jim, go and shut up for a minute.
And just let
Michael Jackson used to talk about this all the time. Let it sizzle.
Yeah.
Just let it sizzle. That's it. That's all you need to do. Just let it sizzle. So just be quiet for a minute. And I often just switch off and just say to people, I'm just going to be quiet for a minute, just to let you hear. And I go, listen to this. And it's completely silent. And I'm thinking, that's exactly what I'm telling you. Listen to that.
It's a really good tip about video as well. And people might think you always need to be talking in a video, but really you need to just give that pause every now and then, just to maybe appreciate what you're looking at or appreciate the sounds, or do you know what I mean?
Talking generally in a video constantly all the time and just rambling on, it tends to be a sign of underconfidence. And what you're actually trying to sell. I think that's definitely one thing that advertising, the marketers actually can tell you when you listen to this. Rory Sutherland's actually brilliant at that. He used to work with, I think, maybe Saatchi and Saatchi. And if you read his books, I mean, he's got a fantastic book I read, Rory Sutherland, about marketing and how important it is and how to do it and how to deliver it in the right way. It's pretty mind-blowing how you can do that. I mean, and he talks about this, how could anybody get somebody to drink a can of juice that it tastes horrible and actually produce it in a smaller amount than any other can of juice, and also and literally no one had ever heard of it, and sell it at a higher price? How is that possible? And yet that's what Red Bull did. They convinced everybody. They convinced everybody. It's a horrible drink.
Yeah, it's terrible, I know.
And yet it's one of the biggest drinks in the world.
Gives you wings.
Yes. Clever marketing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And they've associated with themselves with daredevil stuff. So when you drink Red Bull, you get that sort of feeling.
Yeah,
they've aligned themselves. Aligned themselves with that, definitely. And so you can see how the clever marketing has, and the tips and tricks that they've done in order to do that. And again, I say, when you watch adverts like that, and so I get very analytical now when I watch films, when I watch adverts and stuff like that. I listen to what's going on and enjoy it, but then I start to pick up on the clues that are left, and I notice how they pan from left to right. And why did they do that? Why was it left to right? Well, it's because people read left to right. If you go right to left, it's actually quite stressful in somebody's mind when you go right to left. When you're looking, when you're panning around a room, you're actually supposed to go left to right, because that's how people naturally read. It's like asking you if you brush your teeth with your right hand all the time. I tell you what, go and do it with your left. It's a totally different experience, and that's how it's important actually to get it right when you're taking somebody around. And this I do get it now and again. Once in a blue moon, people go, "Why do you know film like this?" Because everybody's watching them on their phones like that.
Yeah.
And then I'm not needing to go up and down in a room to see the ceiling and the floor anymore, because I can just go right round the room and you see everything. Whereas that, you have to go up and down to see stuff, and you also have to go side to side. So you're actually quite disruptive in terms of how you're doing things, and you're all over the place in somebody's mind. So they're trying to catch up, where this is so easy all the way around.
And it fits better with people's handheld devices. That's what
they do. Everybody does that. Nobody goes on Facebook and does this and scroll through like that. Everybody scrolls through Facebook like that.
Yeah.
Everybody uses their phones like this. It's very, very rare, everybody. And even that simple task of having to turn it like that to see a video is quite stressful for a lot of people. But they don't realise that it is in their mind. And that could be the difference between somebody coming to view your property and somebody not, just because of that. Because they're used to doing this and they have to do that. See how difficult that is, having to turn around.
They could click on the video and it's like, oh, I'm going to, and it could just, oh, no bother, and then just keep going. Yeah.
So that's why it's so important to get all these wee things right and line up all your ducks in a row in order to get there. So what other things do we need to think about then, about the spring 2024?
Yeah, but we're talking about the palettes at the springtime, and really introduce the accents of the year's colour palette, and that's maybe like pastel blues, soft lilacs, buttery yellows. These are all things that are kind of associated with the time of year. From swapping out the wintry bedding, people have had all their throws and extra bedding, and cushions, to treating the walls or alcoves to maybe a lighter coat of paint. All these things that really emphasise and drive the time of year and into the viewer's eye line and gives them that feeling. Break up dark and bare walls by hanging pictures, maybe outdoor scenes or abstract prints, to maybe just some fabulous photos that maybe really maybe brings people's view to them as they come in the room and bring that whole feeling together in the room. And plenty of sky and nature for uplifting that really spring vibe. And that all comes to like what Jeanette says, if you from the view for the window, if you've got plants and things positioned in bloom, and they all marry up together and give that feeling of the time of year. So use it to your advantage.
You're right. Orange, lemon. Funny how actually orange is orange and a lemon is lemon. So why is an apple called green? It's a thought, eh? It's like, why is a strawberry not called red? that's just random. The random thoughts that pop into your head now and again. Yeah, zesty fruits, lemons, kitchen worktops gives the air that fresh and uplifting time. Is this the time to use candles anymore, or is that because you've got a lot of sights and smells and things that could actually be used with flowers now? So is it really candles really that important anymore? It's probably just a winter thing, isn't it?
Candles are really like the autumn and the winter time and things. Candles can
Yeah.
really set that tone. But you get reed diffusers and things now. But I would watch obviously the scents that you use. Do you know, make sure they're relevant to the time of year. Do you know, get some spring fresh scents, and obviously the shops do change all these scents and things in line with the time of year. Do you know, obviously like cinnamon and nutmeg and everything's Christmas and autumn.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So if you've got any in your drawer and you think, oh, or your cupboard and think, oh, I could bring them out, and they're nutmeg and cinnamon and mulled wine and all the rest of it,
that's the wrong time of
don't
year.
do that at this time of year, because
Yeah.
regardless if you think it smells really nice, it still gives that impression. This is why you don't brush your teeth with chocolate toothpaste. You always use mint, because it's aligned with that brand, it's aligned with that process. Mint is always aligned with that process. Mint is always defined as fresh in people's minds. It is set in stone. That's why you don't do that differently. Hence the reason why you need to be careful about the smells and the sights and the sounds you portray when selling your house in the springtime, definitely. And if you need advice on that, and you need, getting again, this is what estate agents, this is what estate agents should do when they go around your house. They should be advised. I mean, the first thing I say to a lot of people is like, if you've got pets, most people's houses don't smell, but you have that underlying tone. And I says, I tell you what, just to take the edge off of that, just in case, because you can't paint the whole place top to bottom and clean all the carpets and get everything done, and you'll still never get rid of it probably. So get rid of the dog beds, get rid of the cat beds, put them somewhere in the garage or something like that, so they're out the way, so they don't actually have that smell anymore. And then just take your wee gel diffusers. You get out, £1.50 for 3 at home bargains. Peel the front off, stick them behind the door so nobody sees them when they walk in the door. It's an easy trick. But get the summer fresh, get the spring fresh smells in order to do that, and it's really cost effective. So minimal cost in order to just set that tone, because we go back to saying adverts have done so much to market certain smells with certain times of years. So success leaves clues. Take advantage of it.
Yeah, and it's really by blending like these current trends and this timeless like spring style, you could really echo the pages of like design magazines and Pinterest boards to give you the photos and the viewers a fresh and really fashionable feel of your property at that time of year.
Definitely. Okay, so let's take the inside out then.
Yeah.
Let's go out to the gardens. I like my gardens. You like your gardens as well. Gardens and balconies especially. I'm launching one in James Street next week and Dyke. I tell you what, you just open the balcony on the top floor from the sitting room, and it's like, wow, panoramic views of the seaside.
Yeah,
it's like, wow, open plan, kitchen, dining, living room, and it just overlooks the whole of the Firth of Forth.
That will make an amazing video.
Yeah, definitely amazing. I look forward to that. We're working on the drone footage at this time of year. It's no easy to get all the drone footage and location footage done because of the weather. You have to get the sun and the moon and the stars to all align at the same time. And what I mean by that is you have to get the tide in, so you see the splash on the rocks and stuff like that, just enough for you to sit in the front, but you see the tide in, beautiful. It's the setting the tone. And then you have to make sure there's no wind, because you can't put a drone up otherwise. If there's a strong wind, it'll just fly away in the wind. And then you have to make sure possibly the sun's out, but you have to make sure the sun is at a certain point. So you pan round in the sun and it hits the sun, everything goes dark round about it. The white balance goes out straight away. So you can't do it at 12 o'clock midday. But if that's when the tide's in, damn, I'll have to wait till another day, even though it looks brilliant. Or you can possibly catch up a wee bit and then come back and do another bit, but that's really, really costly. So we have to make sure we get it all at the right time. So we're pretty specific how we do things, and it's. Well, look at John Street. I've just put on. John Street was a classic example of that. I actually was meant to do it on a Thursday, and it was kind of like what it was like last night. It was pouring in rain. It was just overcast, and it wasn't the part. And I just phoned them up and says, look, I know I've got this afternoon to do your video and do your drone. It's like, this isn't going to work. There's no way I'm going to launch a property. It's going to be like this in this weather. And that is just not clever marketing. So it says, I noticed when I was looking at my phone, because I have the weather on my phone all the time, it says, I actually noticed Saturday or Sunday, it's going to be perfect. Now, Saturday is when it's more likely for the tide to be in. So I want to come on Saturday, and I have another person who I have exclusively to do location footage, who works for Rolex and the Old Course and the R&A, and does all the things for the television companies, but he'll not work for any other estate agent. He only works primarily for us. So I've got somebody that actually does that. It wants to come around on Sunday and do your location footage. This is pretty special when this guy does, because it's like, I think I'm good. It's like, wow, this guy's on a completely different planet. In terms of a completely different stratosphere when it comes to doing location footage. It's remarkable. And if anybody's not seen the location footage for John Street yet, check it out on the Snook page. A couple of, well, actually it'll be on all the pages, won't it? Because we'll launch all the stuff on all the pages so everybody can see it. A couple of posts back from here, but it's pretty remarkable. You will really look at it and think, yeah, it's God country, definitely. Definitely. You can't get anything better than that. And that's what you have to do. This is all about, remember, this is all about clever marketing, how to do things. But taking the inside out, or the inside out, is definitely, the gardens, the balconies have proven to add serious value, especially with lockdown, and the fact that lockdown had taught everybody that the garden is just as valuable asset as anything else. And just a valuable asset is what, some of the rooms in your house are, especially if you're working from home and you want to have a home office out there as well. If you want the lifestyle, if you're living in London, or you're living in Glasgow, or you're living in a city, it's all that smog, and your family's grown up there, and you kind of look at you look at your price point, you think average price in London 550,000, and then you look at 550,000 and what it gives you in Fife. It's like, my God. Some properties are like a mansion at 550,000, and you're living in a 2-bedroom flat in, Little Venice, or a 3-bedroom flat, and struggling every day, and a huge cost even round about you. A can of Coca-Cola, there are other alternative drinks, can cost you, the best part of £1, and yet a can of Coca-Cola up here is 30-40 pence. It's the same thing, but they have to charge a higher price. So even your cost of living is actually a lot higher than it is here, and yet the average salary in the whole of the UK compared to Fife is almost exactly the same. So why would you then live in somewhere else if you could work remotely, and if you could be within 20 minutes of the beach, even in the centre of Fife?
You're within 20 minutes of the beach, the countryside, the towns.
Do you think I've got no intention of ever moving from the seaside? That's like, wow, I just took it all for granted because I grew up here. Even in places, I'll be honest, even in places like when you look at Methil and you look at Buckhaven, and you look at Buckhaven in particular, and you look at what they've got on their doorstep with the coastal path, and these panoramic views when you walk along it towards Weems, and it's like, my God, if you showed that anywhere else on the Scottish Tourist Board, or whatever it is, Welcome to Scotland, or whatever that page is, if you showed these views in any of these things, everybody would go, oh my God, what is that? It's like, that looks an amazing place. And then as soon as you say Buckhaven, everybody goes, oh, well, that's a different story. Sorry?
I know. This
is what people don't understand. There's amazing houses all the way throughout Fife, but the people don't actually research exactly what's there. And this is why video is so important, to tell people from further afield before they make that decision and they switch off straight away. This is often what I say, Richard, to a lot of people. I have people now and again that come to me from another agent, and they say to me, oh, I've put it on with them. It's been on for months and months and months. And I need to change over. And I say, well, this is what the investment in my services is. And they go, oh, that's a bit high. And I'm going, well, I've got to repair all the damage that the estate agent before has actually done to your property, because they've not marketed it correctly, and they've actually done all that damage and blown out all these people. So I'm having to go from a standing start now to convince some of these people that they should actually take a second look at this property. And generally what happens is they've had it on for 3 months and never had it sold, and I sell it in 3 weeks. For more.
I've seen that happen a good few times,
That's weird, But that's clever marketing. That's clever retargeting strategy in order to put a campaign behind, in order to get the right people, in order to get the right people to see the property, to get right in front of them. If you've got the advantage that somebody's sitting on here for 3 hours a day, and you've got technology that can put you on this screen without them having a choice, why would you not take advantage of that? It's exactly what we do.
Yeah.
It's exactly what we do. Nobody has a choice when it appears in front of them, because their data suggests that they are looking to buy your property. And that's why it appears in front of them on their screen. When they're in the middle of an app, when they're playing a game, right down here at the bottom, it pops up. And it's like seaside location. It's like, oh, right, okay, click. And once you've clicked on it, you're in my funnel.
Yeah.
You ain't getting out.
People think that their phones listen to them, but it's...
Of course it does. Clever technology, clever retargeting. We're using all that data to do that. This is light years ahead. This is AI. This is light years ahead. We've been doing this for 3 or 4 years now. We've been doing this way beyond everybody else. No one else has a clue what they were talking about when we talk about this. No other estate agents understand what the technology out there is in order to take advantage of, in order to be cost effective, to get in front of the right people, to often get the person that's undecided to make a decision to come and view your property, and then to make a decision to pay higher. This is why you could take exactly the same product and sell it in a different location, but charge a different price.
Yeah.
Clever marketing. That's a good one, eh?
Yes,
when you think about it. You could put it in, you could put the same product in another store, and because the store has looked at it in a different light, and because they've presented it in a different way, you will pay a premium price for that in comparison to getting it down the road at Home Bargains. That's the key here. Definitely. So taking outside in, of all the different things buyers want from outdoor space, it's a place to sit. Is always on the list, I would say. So set the stage with a stylish table if you can, and chairs that are just the right size for your location. What other things do we need to think about, Richard?
I would say remove anything that either doesn't belong or doesn't really add style. You'd have vacuumed a carpet, so jet wash your decking. Do you know, jet washing the decking or the slabs or paving and patios is a really good thing now. It's amazing how they come up, and it just makes it look that really clean, fresh, nice area. And clear lawns of maybe fallen leaves and, do you know, or new blossoms and things. Do you know, make it.
I'm going to give a wee plug to Darren. He did all my stuff for me. He was absolutely brilliant. We always endorse people that we use.
Yeah, definitely. It does. Pressure washing and things, your paving, your driveway, just any of these areas, or even in your decking as well. Because decking could become, decking areas are brilliant, but through the winter months and things, they become discoloured and, mossy, whatever. So yeah, definitely get the power wash with it.
Slippy, especially on wet days, definitely slippy. And that could cause a real issue for a lot of people, especially if they've got young children or an elderly, or if they're elderly as well. The fear of actually slipping, it could be a big thing, and that could just put them off completely straight away.
Yeah, and it really amplifies the feeling of these extra outside rooms as such. With interior touches on your decking and your patios and things. Because they can become a wee bit obviously weathered and things. So you get all weather rugs, you get these outside rugs actually, and lighting and cushions and blankets, and you could actually create a completely outside space on these decking and
the heaters as well. I tell you what I saw maybe about a year back. It was along at Crail. I walked out to his back garden. Now I know him, and he was just wanting an assessment of his house. He wasn't selling, but he says, "Come and have a look, Jim," because I sold his other house for him. He says, "Come and have a look, Jim." And he took me to his back garden. It was like, wow, you're looking over the rooftops, like to the first to fourth, over all the houses. Yeah. And then to the side, I saw this big, just a shed. And then he opened the shed doors, and it was like a full kitchen.
Right, okay.
A full kitchen and a barbecue and a grill and everything. And then he had a television above it as well. And it's like, my God. It's like, really? Yeah. It's like, wow.
And coupled with that view and things, that's just amazing outdoor living.
complete outdoor space, and yet it was all just in a big massive cupboard that you just open up, and it was all there right in front of you. Wow. And you would never think that when you actually walked out the back. You just think, yeah, he's obviously got something stored in there. But it was just a full entertainment system as well, and grill and all the rest of it. Everything you could ever want for your back garden, with these beautiful views, south facing, so you're literally sun morning to evening. Fantastic. That's the sort of things that will definitely catch people's attention. But often that's overlooked, especially if you're doing photographs and descriptions, because it's like, you take a picture of a photograph outside, but every single time it's like watching your favorite show, or it's like reading the script and looking at the photographs. It's the difference between talking pictures and silent movies, I suppose, or traditional estate agency and the new age television, like what we're doing. It's like, but the feeling that I get when I walk out there and I do a video, and it's like, and you just have that huge smile coming up off your face, and you kind of think, and everybody sees that when you're doing it, and it's like, wait till you see this, and then you just flip the camera around and you just go, oh, look at that,
and you channel that into the viewer,
Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? And even to the icing on the cake, and then you just go across to the side and go, you've even got your own entertainment and kitchen over here as well. Let me just show you. And you open the doors. And that's what sells a house.
Yeah.
The lifestyle. Every single time. Every single time. Could you imagine just trying to replace that with a photograph and a bit of description? Nobody's going to get anything out of that.
You're not the same effect, no.
But could you imagine how that drives the price for someone else in their mind? What that's worth to them. Or why would we have bid up TV then? Why would you have places like that? Why would you have QVC if that didn't work? Why would you have all these channels, these selling channels? Because they know fine it works. Talking to people, telling them what it is to them and why they should use it and what it'll be to them, and then delivering the price point. It works every single time. That's why we have QVC. That's why we have all these channels. So why would you not have that television channel for your property, for your estate agency? Every single time it works. There's no doubt about that. It's remarkable how swiftly, though, you can transform that outdoor space, isn't it? And it really feels forgotten, or it's been ravaged by winter into this irresistible haven that charms buyers, and with the promise of summer.
Yeah.
So, final thoughts for you, Richard. We'll just finish off there.
Yeah, I think obviously if you are planning to sell this spring, then obviously we'd love to show you how precision pricing and expert staging and brilliant marketing, as we've discussed a lot of this morning, can give your home that edge, and how you could sell for the top price and make the smoothest move possible.
Yeah, I think you're right. If you've watched the show all the way through, if you've listened to the podcast all the way through and you still don't get it, it's like, just use cheapest chips down the road. It's like you'll get thousands less than what you'll get using a superior estate agency in terms of using that television format and that. But if that's what you want, you can't be everything to everyone at this point in time. It's just the way of the world. That's why somebody will go for the cheapest car because it gets them from A to B. That's why somebody will go for the Ferrari because it makes them feel good. That's why somebody will go for the Audi because it's just that wee bit more superior in comfort. They all do the same job, but they all deliver a different result. And it's exactly the same with estate agents. We all do the same job fundamentally, but we all deliver a different result.
Yeah.
And on that note, thanks very much for coming on, Richard. Really appreciate it.
I think obviously the viewers, like Jeanette, obviously you get that with all your comments. Thanks for joining in, and Rosalind, I see you joining in at the end here. But
morning, Rosalind.
And so
and until next time, guys, it's bye-bye from us. See you later. Bye-bye for now.